Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have special guest speaker, Dr. Sarah, and we're so excited to have her share her beautiful insight with us today for the next 20 to 25 minutes. We hope to have time for live questions and answers after today's webinar. Right now, everyone is muted. So during the live question and answer time, I will unmute all of you, and then you will have to unmute yourself as well. But I don't want to waste any time, so I'm going to let Sarah take it away. I'm going to turn off my camera and Sarah will leave on hers. I'll turn mine back on when we have questions and answers. So thank you again, Sarah, for being here, and so happy to have you.
It's such an honor to be here with you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So I'll just share a bit about the program that I created, which, as far as I can tell, is unique in that it is a course on intimacy, on sexual intimacy for married Catholic women, completely faithful to the magisterium, to the utmost of my ability. I am a Catholic moral theologian. And how I got into this is that my husband, Nathan, and I created an online Catholic marriage enrichment program a few years ago. First, we had a monthly date night membership online called Cana Feast. And then we went on to create our marriage course called Abundant. And this is a course that really helps husbands and wives renew their joy and their emotional connection and their sense of togetherness and just that sense of getting on the same page and feeling in love and happy together. So that has been wonderful work. But in the course of that, one wife emailed me about our work, and she said, you know, I'm a newlywed and our marriage is great. It's very loving. I feel really close to my husband. There's just one problem. We are having trouble making love. And I emailed her back and went back and forth with her and like, okay, well, what exactly is going on? And as I learned more, I understood she was having extreme anxiety about this aspect of marriage, and that was actually causing physical complications. She was having pain during intercourse. They were not able to unite very well, and I was able to work with her on a lot of different fronts. First of all, at the level of belief. She had been raised in a very strict religious household and had a lot of shame around the whole idea of sex. In fact, when she thought about having sex with her husband, and sweet young lady, they've been married like a year and a half. When she even thought about it, she started to feel like she wanted to throw up. So I worked with her looking at the Catholic Church's beautiful teachings, that this is a good and holy thing. And I pointed her in the direction of pelvic floor therapy in order to relax and open up. And I just gave her some practical tips on how to prepare and enjoy this encounter. And it worked great. And she really had wonderful progress. She and her husband are really are doing so much better in this area of marriage. And that gave me the idea, maybe I could help other people with this as well. I have this background studying the theology of marriage. I got my PhD from the Catholic University of America. I've got tons of experience in marriage ministry. I've been an NFP advocate and promoter for a long time. But in my own marriage, I've been a happy, satisfied wife, and my husband and I have had our own journey of, learning various things. And so last fall of 2022, I opened the first group cohort of My Delight for Catholic wives and engaged Catholic women. And it was so much fun. It was a 90-day program, so I did weekly group coaching calls. Women could send me their questions anonymously, and then I would answer them on the group coaching calls. And I also have recorded lessons in there, just going over everything. And that was just wonderful. And I did a second round this spring, and I'll be offering a third live course this fall, a group experience. So now I'm the Catholic sex lady, something I never thought I would be, but I am happy and thankful that God has prepared me for this work and that I'm able to help couples in this way. So I saw a lot of wonderful questions that you all sent in as you registered, and I thought what I would do is go through a lot of those now, with the understanding that I would give a lot fuller answers and a more detailed advice in the context of the course, where I can develop a relationship with my students. But I'll just give you like the tip of the iceberg now and point you towards some other resources as well. And just so you know, I think Ashley will be putting the link to join the wait list for My Delight somewhere, you know, in the notes or near the recording of this course. But you can go to canafeast.com, canafeast.com/mydelight to find my wait list. Okay, so I'm just passionate about these topics, and I'm going to start with one that I care deeply about, because this really ends up hurting a lot of women and hurting a lot of marriages. This question is it obligatory to engage in sex with your husband if you don't feel like it? What is the moral teaching on this? The moral teaching on this is that there must be free consent. Humanae Vitae talks about how a husband should not impose the marital embrace on his wife, and that the husband must have due regard for the physical and mental equilibrium of his wife. And you know, there is, like, we both as husband and wife, to the extent that we're able, it is good to be generous and to extend ourselves, but that is not a compulsion. You are not obliged to be a sex vending machine. You are not obliged to provide sex on demand. If you are exhausted, you are not in the mood, you're feeling distant from your husband, you guys have had a fight and haven't reconciled, or he's just been grumpy at you all day, or whatever, it would be a lie with your body to unite in a way that you don't feel in your heart. And when women force themselves to do this, which is very common, especially in certain Protestant communities, they do have a teaching in Protestant communities that yes, you as a wife, it is your duty to always have sex with your husband whenever he wants. And if you don't, you are leaving him vulnerable to sin. This is not our Catholic teaching. Our Catholic teaching is based on mutual equality and mutual dignity. But what I want to point out is that when women do this, the rates of pain during intercourse are higher because women are forcing themselves. And what you have to do to force yourself to make love when you don't want to is you have to dissociate from your body. And this is not healthy. This is disintegrating body-mind unity and the unity of your heart. So no. There is discussion in canon law from the Middle Ages. There is this concept of the marital debt, and that has dropped out of all recent church documents on marriage. If the church had wanted to, it would reinstate that phrase, marital debt, in any of the many church documents we've had on marriage and sexuality from Humanae Vitae on, and it's just not there. The church is not using this term anymore, and I'm just saddened that so many Catholic husbands and wives think this is the teaching, because it's so contrary to the meaning of the language of the body, where your body is supposed to express that emotional union that you've been cultivating, and it's supposed to be a true gift of self. Well, how can you make a gift if you have no other option but to say yes every single time? A free gift has to be like your free choice, and it has to include the option of you saying, not tonight, I'd love to later, I'd love to get a couple good nights sleep and then rock your world, a few nights hence. But anyway, yeah, to be a free, and a lot of women think, well, I just want to give to my husband all the time, that's being a good wife. Are you really giving him your full self if you are hiding the fact that you are just not in a good place right now to make love? There have to be a lot of conditions in place for us ladies to feel like, ready to do that. And that is respecting our true nature. Anyway, I could go on a lot further about this. The marital debt concept from the Middle Ages, from canon law, that just means there needs to be intercourse in some way in the marriage. Like, at some point, there will be, but couples are so free to decide how often, when, what that looks like. Okay, there's a lot of other great questions. So passionate as I am on that topic, I'll have to move on. Okay, and let's talk about the libido questions now, because there's some on both sides. And I'm going to start with this one. What about when it is the wife who has higher libido? And I'm so grateful somebody asked that, because 20% of married couples have this experience where the wife is the one with the higher libido. And yet we rarely hear anything about this in common sex advice that's out there. Especially in Christian circles, there is a lot of assumption. It's always the husband, always wanting one thing. And that can make us wives who have the higher libido in the marriage feel really weird and lonely and not understood and not seen. But that is my experience in our marriage. I'm the higher libido wife. And so I have sought, advice on this and just tried different things in my marriage. And I think one thing I read in a book by Sheila Gregoire that really hit home is, imagine if the roles are reversed, how would you want to be approached? A lot when I talk to and counsel wives who are lower libido, I talk to them about establishing, how to get warmed up, how to feel more connected and lovey with your husband, and how to clearly communicate. And it works best if the husband's really understanding, doesn't pressure them, invites them, but in a no pressure way. If they have some warm emotional connection first, like from a date night or a really great discussion, if she can relax first, and if all the conditions are in place. So same thing, find out what helps your husband feel relaxed, better, most connected with you. Just do a study of him and find out those times when he does say yes to making love. What were the circumstances? Had you two been laughing together? Had you had a date? Was he feeling really good about some circumstance in your life, like something went really well in your household or with his job? There are various ways that you can, like nutrition and exercise can all help in this area. But I would just say you can't change someone else. And you have to love the husband that you have, and you have to understand that he is not saying he doesn't love you just because he doesn't want to make love as much as you do. So look and be really thankful for all the ways that he is showing and communicating his love to you in other ways. Yeah, there's a lot more to say on that as well, but I'm going to move on to what if, let's see. There was one question where the person who registered said, we both have libido issues. And then I know there was a question from a wife who said she has low libido. Oh, libido. So what do we know about libido? And I've kind of touched on this before, but there are actually, when we have a good emotional connection, when we're feeling well physically, like we're rested, we've had good nutrition, we've had some exercise, we're not depleted and exhausted, those sorts of things can help with our libido, and also how we use and manage our mind, focusing on gratitude for your husband or wife. If you have planned and scheduled lovemaking, which is something I recommend you can try, like say you forecast, let's make it Saturday night will be our night to aim for coming together with no pressure. This is not going to be a locked in stone situation, because pressure kills pleasure. But you can aim for that. So then ahead of time, you can be working with your mind, like just imagining the most lovely, romantic, erotic in a holy way things, like, imagine what can help you get most in the mood as far as, remembering past times you've had of coming together with your husband or your wife, if you're the low libido husband who needs to kind of work yourself up to making love. All those things can be helpful. Now, if you're both low libido, there's no obligation on you to have sex in your marriage any certain number of times. If you're both really low libido and you're like, once every 3 months, quarterly is good for us, that's okay. You can just go with that. I would encourage you to be working on your emotional intimacy and your union and togetherness in other ways, but there's no quota you have to fulfill. So it might work out well for the both of you if you're both low libido. Yeah, there's such a range. As I've been talking with couples, there are some couples who really just only make love once every 2 or 3 months. There are others who make love 4 or 5 times a week. It's such a range. So just do what works well for you guys. Okay. Ooh, how to handle childhood trauma from both me and my husband. He wants to be touched all the time. I don't want to give. That is really something to work intentionally on the healing. Definitely go to counseling, find a good Catholic or Christian counselor, or just a skilled counselor to work on that trauma. You can look into EMDR. There are some great, solid, faithful Catholic therapists who have like podcasts and conferences. There's one called, this is a podcast called Interior Integration for Catholics, soulsandhearts.com. And there's a whole series on sex in there. There is the Sexual Attachment Conference with Adam Young Counseling. That's a wonderful resource as well. Yeah, because of course your past history and especially any abuse or trauma in the area of sexuality is absolutely going to affect your marital embrace and needs to be addressed and healed. Oh, someone has something in the chat there. Thank you. Ashley, is that you putting in some resources? Thank you. Yeah. And then you can also work on this in adoration and prayer. I have a whole healing exercise inside my course to take you through, to kind of walk you through a healing in your imagination as you go back in time in your imagination with Jesus to those times when you were hurt, and just asking for Jesus to heal you, and speak to that situation. That should never have happened. You were little. That person who was bigger, who was in power, or whoever it was who hurt you, they shouldn't have done it. And that was wrong of them. That was their problem, but you are good. Yeah, and being patient and understanding and communicating with your husband or wife about that and how it affects you now is really important. And then, yeah, I encourage you to do some intentional healing. Okay, I've been struggling with infertility. How do you make sex not a chore when trying to conceive? How to handle low libido? Oh my gosh, you guys. In my fall course, I had a woman who was trying to conceive. She and her husband had been married something like 6 or 7 years, infertility. And during her fertile time, they were making love every single night for like 12, 13, 14 days in a row. She said, I was just crying by the end. And I told her, don't. Remember, pressure kills pleasure. So same thing with trying to conceive. And I've even heard that it's best for sperm counts to give it a rest like every other day in the morning. But in my course with my couples, I tell them like, just if you do it once or twice during your fertile period, call it good with that. Don't put so much pressure on yourselves because you're gonna, yeah, just like this, it's going to become a chore. You're going to lose that sense of using the language of the body as a real, emotional connection between husband and wife instead of just like focusing on, okay, we have to get this done. Yeah, so I really counsel you to make it special each time, make it an act of loving reconnection each time, with whatever will help you do that. And that's what I go into a lot in the course, like setting up a nice scenario for you so that when you come together, it's really a celebration. You make a little oasis, like clear the clutter in your bedroom, have a little time to just relax and transition before you get into foreplay, praying together before you make love, music if you want, massages if you want, oil if you want, speaking loving words to each other before, during, and after, like words that echo the meaning of your marriage vows, or telling each other a romantic story. Like I just go into lots of different ways that you can just really use your mind and soul and heart to help you make lovemaking really special. Okay, how can couples best deal with issues like dyspareunia in a Catholic way? That's pain during intercourse. First of all, don't force yourself to have sex if you are having pain during intercourse, because it solidifies this bad wiring that you don't want to have in your brain, connecting sex with pain. Your brain thinks, oh, sex, that's painful. And then it reinforces that more and more. So you have to stop, you have to take a break. And then look for pelvic floor therapy. We had a guest speaker, Mary Bruno, inside our course, and she shared lots of great resources that she has used to deal with this issue in her marriage. And she has some episodes in her podcast, the fan-based podcast, addressing this specifically. You can use dilators. That's totally fine and licit to use vaginal dilators to help you open up and loosen up. Pelvic floor therapy is totally licit. And then I want to assure you, it's okay if you intend to make love, you're starting, but then as you get into things, there's that pain again. It's okay for you to stop, and take a break. That is licit. There's no moral obligation to like, okay, no, we just have to do it. Like, it takes an understanding husband, but hopefully he loves you so much that he's going to want to respect you and help you, get well and not force continuing lovemaking when there's pain. So maybe we can link these podcast episodes into the show notes as well. Mary had just a wonderful path of healing and shared a lot of the resources that she used along the way. Okay, so something that I can help with as a moral theologian is this question, what does chastity look like? Trying to conceive and trying to avoid. And what is morally, let's see, there was another question like, what is okay for Catholic husbands and wives to do in the bedroom? So I'll start with trying to avoid. So when you are using fertility awareness methods to avoid pregnancies, so you're abstaining from sex during the wife's fertile window, what is okay? How far is too far? What kind of touching or affection can you be having during that time? And stay within, avoid being sinful. I consulted with my moral theology professor at Catholic University of America about this question because I just kept running into couples who had this very legitimate question. And so what I'm going to share with you is my opinion as a moral theologian, and also his. This is John Grabowski, my mentor at Catholic U. This is not like written anywhere in canon law or the catechism, just so you know, you're getting a theological opinion. But in my theological opinion, I believe that the line should be at not purposely sexually arousing each other when you're not intending to make love. And I'll share with you my reasons for that. If you are purposely sexually arousing each other, so like you're making out or you're touching or whatever, rolling around naked and you're under the sheets, but doing everything but stopping short of actual intercourse, you are engaging your capacity for sexual arousal with the intention of not having sex, and that is just not prudent. So acting imprudently, that's the opposite of acting with virtue. It's acting with vice. So there is that vice of imprudence, and also it leads to frustration. Now, some could say also this is an improper use of your sexual faculties, and I would agree with that. And also what I've seen in real life is that couples who do this end up with problems. They end up getting sexually frustrated. It's, that kind of sexual brinksmanship can be really hard on you emotionally and physically to like stop short. Or then maybe a couple might go ahead and make love so that they don't have to go to confession, but then they're just hoping and crossing their fingers that they, hoping that they didn't actually conceive a baby. And that's really not a nice spot to be, welcoming a baby from. Yeah, I've heard some couples say, oh, we just didn't go to orgasm. We did everything except orgasm. That's way too far, way too far. No, you should have no penetration, no touching each other's genitals, not even like extended making out if you know for a fact that's going to be arousing each other. And if you are starting to get each other aroused or find that you are aroused, you should calm down and cool down and separate. And this is a great time to work on your emotional intimacy or intellectual intimacy. SPICE is the acronym that Creighton uses. And you know what? If you've got lots of extra sexual energy, put that energy to use on good projects around your house. Maybe that's a great time to clean out the garage or get some heavy yard work done. Work together as a team or individually, just kind of burning off that energy, being really productive and serving each other and the Lord in those ways. What can spouses do in the marital bed? So I actually have a whole handout on this that I give students in my class. It's called the What's Allowed list. And I'll just give you some top level highlights. The golden rule here is as you're having a sexual encounter between a husband and wife in our Catholic faith, it needs to include husband coming to orgasm inside the wife's vagina. The wife's orgasm can be before, during, or after that. Husband can bring the wife to orgasm manually or orally before he enters and penetrates and comes to orgasm, or you could do all that after his. I'm in my garage studio and I thought I heard someone walking outside, so okay. Oh my gosh, my neighbors must wonder what we're doing in here. Okay, so yeah, so it's totally illicit to stimulate each other orally or manually like with hands or even mouths, but husband cannot be brought to orgasm orally. He must have his orgasm inside the wife. So if you want to do that as part of foreplay, that's licit. But and I know there are differences of opinion on this. I know someone's pointed me to podcasts by others who disagree. But from my reading of natural law, I follow Edward Fazer, a natural law theologian, and again, I'm in consultation with my mentor, John Grabowski at CUA. To me, this looks like totally legitimate forms of foreplay. Oh, there's that one guy who has a horrible website. What is his name? There's someone who has a website and he mimics the Vatican's website background, and he is really set against this and makes it seem like this is totally against church teaching, and he is wrong. Forgot his name. I'll try to find that. Anyway, okay, and then free resources from a Catholic or Christian perspective. Or books. Someone else recommended books that I would recommend. Someone else asked for book recommendations. So I highly recommend this book, Holy Sex by Gregory Popchak. This is Catholic. He's a therapist, totally solid. And he really emphasizes working on your emotional connection, because what happens in the bedroom is often a reflection of how your relationship, broadly speaking, is going. And then we don't have any Catholic women writing about this, writing books. So me and some of my lady friends might have to change that for you. But there are some Christian women who I recommend. Sheila Gregoire, she has a book called The Great Sex Rescue and another called Good Girl's Guide to Great Sex. Just wear your Catholic lens, your Catholic filter. They're going to be talking about contraception and masturbation to orgasm like it's no big deal. It is. Those are against our Catholic faith. So as long as you know those, you can get their other tips and perspectives and learn a lot. And they'll, there's another wonderful book called Awaken Love by Ruth Buzis. I think she's just got a really great insight into things related to marital lovemaking. So I highly recommend her as well. And but again, use your Catholic filter. And some resources, like free online resources. There is a website called Christian Friendly Sex Positions, if you want to check that and learn some new positions. And also marriagebed.tips and learn some technique and positions. Again, remembering what I told you about. Golden rule, husband has to orgasm inside his wife. Ta-da! Okay, on that note, I guess I'll wrap it up.
Sarah, good job. And thank you so much for doing that. You can see that you're so passionate about helping ladies in this important topic, and it's really not talked about a lot. So for ladies not to feel alone and to have you is amazing. So thank you so much for doing this. I did in the chat add the link that Sarah was talking about earlier of the waitlist to My Delight. So please check it out. We are right at that 30-minute mark, but Sarah, if you're okay with it to stick around for a minute or two longer, I would be happy to open up live questions. I am going to give you all access to unmute yourself. I'm going to give you the permission. You'll see a little microphone. You still will have to click that if you want to ask a question. So I will do that right now. Okay, so if anyone wants to ask a question, please do so.
It's kind of a sensitive topic. So I found even in my course, when I do the group coaching sessions, it's usually takes a while for people to really remember their questions or think of them.
Right.
And I don't know if there's an option to send a direct message to you or to me so that you don't have to share your name as the questioner with everybody. Is that possible inside this platform? Do you know?
I'm not sure if we have that tool, but what I will do is everyone attending today's webinar will get the recording, and then I'll also provide Dr. Sarah's contact information so you can email her. I will provide the My Delight waitlist link as well. So if you have more questions, like Sarah said, this is more of a sensitive topic, so we do not blame you for not wanting to ask a question. But please feel free to send her an email, feel free to send me an email, and we're just here to assist you. So if we're not going to have any questions, then we can end today's webinar. And thank you again, Sarah, for attending and covering this important topic and doing so gracefully in just 30 minutes. It was amazing, and hope to connect with you soon. And thank you all for attending, and we're happy to help with this topic. So thank you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Take care.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye.